You know, it feels really good to play the theme song again. I just gotta get my hands.
Yeah, your fingers were all crusty due to misuse. You had to rub the crust off of them.
And then that's all muscle memory from there.
Yeah.
But hi guys, welcome back, and welcome me back from Japan.
Welcome.
This is Style and Direction, the menswear podcast without any stuffiness. And if you don't know who I am, you should... I don't know why you're here, but my name is Ethan Wong.
My name's Spencer Oddie.
And today, we're going to be talking about hashtag Ethan in Japan.
Yep, the hip new hashtag that's sweeping the nation.
Yeah, there's like 5 posts.
Yeah, are your kids using it?
Find out at 5 o'clock.
Yep. So yeah, you just you got back from Japan. I don't know. It's not like just got back. You got back like 2-3 weeks ago.
It was like 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
But this is the first episode that we're releasing since you got back. So for the viewers, it's like you just got back. Viewers, listeners, it's a show.
I say that quite a bit now for some reason.
Yeah. Watch Comedy Bang Bang on Netflix because it's not on IFC anymore.
No, it hasn't been for like 3 years, I think.
It's been a while.
Yeah. It's like that band Stained.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got back 2 weeks ago, and I just finished writing all about it.
Yeah, you've had a lot of writing about it.
Yeah, and it's still at the time of this recording, it's still not completely done. You'll find it in the show notes that I recapped my trip, and I also recapped the style of the people that I saw there, but other stuff like Bryceland's, Taylor Cade, Ring Jacket, those are not finished just yet, but they will be. And the show notes will have a link to the category where you'll see, like, all the stuff tagged Japan that will populate as soon as they're finished.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as some people messaged me on Instagram asking if I was going, I was not.
People ask you that? It's a show?
Yeah, I got like 3 people asking. It's like, oh, so are you in Japan too? And I'm like, well, I wish, but no, this was not.
Buddy, believe me.
This was not like a fun menswear trip for you, although you did spend a lot of your time doing menswear stuff. It was like a family vacation that you just worked some menswear into.
Exactly. Like, I don't think we had the podcast when I went to Europe, but it was basically the same thing.
Yeah.
Europe was after I finished, after I graduated with my MBA, and this time my brother graduated from college, so it's kind of like, oh, another milestone, let's go do another family vacation. So I went to Japan with my immediate family, so my brother, myself, my mom, and my dad, and then we also brought our my grandparents on my mom's side along as well. So basically it was kind of like when I went to Europe, just like another place.
And you were there for about 2 weeks, right?
A little under 2 weeks. I think it's like 12 days, but then if you count like the plane ride there, it's like 11 days like physically in Japan.
Yeah.
And so it was about we got there and we went straight from Haneda Airport on the Shinkansen all the way to Kyoto. And then that's east of Tokyo, or no, sorry, west. It's west. It's the other direction.
Depending on what direction you're facing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we were there for about 3 days, and then we spent the rest of our time in Tokyo. So like 3 and about like 7 days, respectively.
That's fun.
Yeah, it's Spencer and I have had trips in the past, and I try and plan a lot. I look up how to get around and what bus stuff we should do, and in my family, my mom is the Ethan, so she's the one who planned everything. And I don't know. I mean, I get that there's rush hour and stuff like that, but literally we arrived in Haneda at like 6 o'clock in the morning, and then according to like our JR pass, which is kind of like, it's not really like a bus pass. It's kind of like if you had a bus pass for like Amtrak. And so you have like unlimited use of the Amtrak for how many days that you picked. And Tokyo has its own metro system, but everywhere else kind of uses the Shinkansen, which is the bullet train. So for about like 7 days we were able to use as many bullet trains as we wanted to.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was. And the I'm just saying, like, when we got there, it's like We got off the plane. We waited in line for like an hour or two at the JR pass because I don't think it opened till 7, and like all the people are just waiting to get their JR pass.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a huge line, and then we went from there. We took the train to a station like half an hour away, and then from there we took the bullet train to Kyoto, which took about 3.5 hours.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and so we got to Kyoto about like, I don't know, like 1, and then our the hotel was like, oh, check-in's not till like 3. So we were like, okay, what the fuck do we do now?
Yeah.
And basically, luckily, I mean, the Fushimi Inari, like, you know, the famous shrine, you know, you see like the red orange shrine in Japan that everyone takes pictures at. That was like a 10-minute train ride away. So we kind of, you know, we did that.
Well,
And
shit, there you go.
Yeah, and then, you know,
Did you manage to get any sleep on the train, or the plane, or was this all like?
Okay, so going there was pretty okay. So we left about 1 a.m. from LAX, so I was able to rest and sleep on the plane. I watched the Mortal Engines again.
Okay,
it's
How
fun.
was it the second time?
I fell asleep, but I think it's because it was like 3 a.m. my time. So yeah, the train though, okay, it's kind of like Japan is very humid, and if you're not used to walking everywhere, it's like, you know, like kind of like New York, and being even more hectic. Like I got dehydrated quick, and on that train ride, I'm sure there was a vending machine in one car, but I was like dying, like on the way on the Shinkansen, the 3-hour train ride to Kyoto. And like, yeah, it was pretty bad, but luckily on the way back, we were like, we kind of knew what to do, because there's no water fountains anywhere. It's always it's all vending machines.
Huh.
Yeah, I mean, the vending machines are pretty cheap. I mean, everything is like 100 yen, which is like a bit like less than $1. So it's not that bad if you can find them. But at least on the public transportation, it was pretty, on the Shinkansen, I mean, it was pretty bad. If you do a metro one, like every stop, there's like a bunch of vending machines. Okay. But yeah, so, you know, after we did stuff, more sightseeing stuff in Kyoto, I didn't really do a lot of menswear stuff there.
Is there a lot of menswear stuff in that area?
I would kind of liken Kyoto to kind of like, you know, Glendale or Pasadena, kind of like a historical spot, kind of quiet. You know, it's not like, you know, downtown LA, which is more like Tokyo or New York or whatever. I'm sure there was like Uniqlo's and Muji and Tomorrowlands, which I'll get into in a second. But yeah, it's just kind of like normal, and we took the opportunity to kind of just sightsee, go around, and whatever. I did go to the Bamboo Grove, and it's open 24 hours, but that doesn't mean lights are on 24 hours.
So you went at night and you were like,
it was
can't
like,
see shit.
No, yeah, it was like like the path was barely lit, and I'm like, this is kind of fucking scary. I'm going home. Like we went there, we walked for like 10 minutes. We're like, nope, let's
and
go
you're
home.
Like, this shit sucks.
And trains stop at like 10:30, like depending on where you are. Really? Yeah, like it's not like Japan is like not a like 24-hour city, unless you're like walking around and doing, you know, like taxis and stuff. But trains in Kyoto were like till maybe like 10:40, almost 11, and in Tokyo they stop about 12.
Ooh, boy.
Yeah, and then things close at like 8 p.m. Like like businesses open at 11 and they close about 8. And so outside of that, unless again you're in like Tokyo, like Shinjuku or Shibuya or whatever, you're pretty much stranded unless you can use a taxi. There's a lot of taxis, but still, I mean, I'd rather not pay for a taxi if I can just use, like, you know,
a $1. They're expensive
whatever.
Over there, aren't they?
Yeah, I went on a date while I was over there, and yeah, we're not gonna get into that, but I did. I ended up staying at the bar till like maybe like 1 or 2 for like last call, just having drinks and talking, and then. Of course, I didn't want to walk back like 2 kilometers back to my hotel, and there was no train, so I just had to take a taxi. And I think, maybe it was like 4 kilometers by driving, but it was like a $20 cab ride.
Okay.
So I mean, I've never taken a cab in LA or when we were in New York, so I don't know relatively, but it seems kind of like a lot. If you can compare it to like an Uber ride, which would be like $10 or something.
Yeah, that seems about right.
Yeah, but when we got back to Tokyo, just to recap, Kyoto was more sightseeing, and I also went to Hiroshima, which was even a super powerful experience.
Yeah, you texted us about that.
If
I ever go, that's definitely on my list.
Yeah, I mean, I was like tearing up, like reading, just the letters and seeing the pictures are just, they're graphic, but
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty interesting, and it's definitely like visiting. I don't know. It's like a countryside over there, and so it's even less less busy than Kyoto.
Yeah.
And I think it used to be like a farming like city or whatever, and but yeah, like you can tell like going to these different places and then finishing up in Tokyo, you can really see the difference in like like the country and how like it's small, but there are very distinct like pockets of not civilization, but like epicenters of like city and whatnot. But yeah, we spent the last what, like 5 or 6 days in Tokyo, and then also went to Disneyland 2 separate days. So yeah, and then that in Tokyo is when I did all my menswear stuff. Okay. And I kind of sandwiched it in between sightseeing and visiting friends and so forth.
Yeah, because did you ever have like an entire free day, or was it all like, okay, I'm going to this today, and in between like 3 and 5 o'clock?
It was kind of like that. I'm trying to think of like my itinerary kind of stuff, but typically morning to like 1 was kind of like with my family. Also, if your parents are gonna pay for lunch, you might as well take advantage of that. But yeah, and then like I would be like free on my own until like maybe like 6 or 7, where I'd meet them for dinner, or I would have dinner with whoever I was hanging out with or something. And like crazily enough, I was talking to Ryan Cecil Smith, the cartoonist behind Put This On, and a cartoonist for his own work. He we were talking about how crazy it was. A lot of menswear people were there. Like, I know that Tokyo has a lot of menswear, but like the day I got there was when Permanent Style, Simon Crompton, and Mark Cho of the Armory, they just finished like a symposium on like Japanese tailoring, and they were just kind of hanging out on like their last day was the day I got there.
Okay. So you never ran into them?
No, I did not. I messaged Mark Cho, and he said, "Oh, I'm leaving now." And then Simon ghosted me. He never said anything. Nice. Oh, he's never really said anything in general, but I don't think
this time it especially hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe it's because he heard our podcast episode about him.
Yeah, guys, go check that one out. It's a good discussion. But then there was people like Audrey and Ron from Brillington in Jakarta. That was cool to see. Gilletta, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. She's one of the people who works for Oscar Hunt Taylor. She was taking a vacation from Australia in Japan, and we were able to have a coffee together before she took her Shinkansen to Kyoto. She had like an hour or two in between then. And it was just kind of really fun and kind of surreal, and going from my experience in not Paris, in London, where I kind of didn't know a lot of people and no one really knew who I was either. Not saying that they had to, but now I know the Drake's guys in London. Back then I had no idea what their names were. I had never stepped foot in the Drakes. I never owned any Drakes or whatever. The bloke wasn't open yet, so I didn't even I never handled Drakes before. Then going to now, where I was able to meet Takahiro or Naka on Instagram, the guy who runs the Drake's shop in Ginza, and being able to just talk to him like we're friends, like that. It's such a cool change of pace that I never would have expected.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But if we go through each day by day, I need to like recap, and I even think that my blog post is out of order, just because I think I put them in as I found pictures on my phone.
Yeah.
But
why don't we just go in the order? Like,
sure. Go ahead.
So starting with like the shopping.
Yeah.
The first thing you mention are kind of like the secondhand shops.
Oh man.
Like Second Street. I almost called it Second Street USA, which is what it's called here.
Yeah, I was about to say that for listeners who don't know, Second Street is a Japanese reselling store that only till recently, I'm assuming, opened up stuff in California. There's one in Pasadena, which is near me, and then the other one is near Spencer.
There's two. There's one in Hollywood.
Oh, there's one. Okay, I didn't know that one.
One in Costa Mesa, which is like near Santa Ana, but whatever.
Yeah.
And then one by your house in in Pasadena.
And in our experience, I mean, I know Spencer hadn't heard of it because I went in before not knowing what it was.
Or yeah, because I went like right after they opened it because a coworker of mine was like, "Oh, did you hear they just opened like a cool, like Japanese secondhand store and like down the street?" And I'm like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, because
I said it exactly like that, and I got myself over there.
Yeah, because I think you told me about the Pasadena one. I'm like, oh, I think I wandered in there one time, and I just found camo shit. Like I was like, oh, this is kind of curated. You know, you got CDG, you've got Bape, and I found like Kamoshida, or at least United Arrows shorts there.
Yeah.
And I had no idea what the store was until Spencer mentioned this, and I looked it up, and I'm like, wait, I've seen that name before.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you can imagine, if you've been there, you should know, like in the LA ones, like I had no idea what I was going to expect from the Japanese one. Okay, like they have big names there in the US
ones
ones.
In California are a lot like more streetwear focused. Like I always find some like good stuff when I go there, but it's like a lot of the Japanese stuff is cool, but not necessarily stuff that I'm interested in.
Right. And so I walked into the one in Shibuya, and Shibuya was our first stop when we got back from Kyoto, because we got back like in the afternoon, and we were like, oh, let's have dinner in Shibuya. Let's go see the the big crazy crossing street or whatever. And while my parents went off to do their own thing, I saw Second Street, and it was like a kind of a narrower shop, kind of similar to what we have in Pasadena. And I walked in. I'm like, okay, can't wait to see all the Bape again and all the other streetwear stuff, Y3. And I look at like the dress shoes, and I'm assuming that they're, Banana Republic or whatever, similar to an experience if you go to like Wasteland or Buffalo Exchange in LA or whatever. But I look down and I look at the label. I'm like, oh, these are Alden's, these are Crockett and Jones, these are Edward Green's, and this is like a small store. And I'm like, oh my god! I mean,
what were the prices like?
They were about what you would expect to find on like on eBay. Like they're about $300 to $600. I think Shell Cordovan was like $900.
Okay.
So it's, I mean, obviously Shell Cordovan in America is about like $700-800 compared to like Japan, where they sell for like $1,000 because you have to import it. But yeah, I was like, oh shit, like $300 shoes, like that are normally like almost twice that. And they're just sitting here in damn good condition. I was so surprised. I went up to like the second level where they had more menswear. I found, it's kind of mixed in because this one's a little bit smaller, but I found like Beam stuff there, Lardini, all 3-roll-2 jackets, soft shoulders and everything, and a whole bunch of like other Japanese style stuff that I could find myself wearing. Like they're not super streetwear, they're more like not really avant-garde, but like Americana, more minimal kind of stuff, like Evan Kenori kind of style. And I was like, oh shit, I gotta make sure I go to more. And later on I went to one in Shinjuku, which was like 3 stories, a little bit bigger, and that one had even more. They had like Boglioli, they had just crazy amounts of brand name but good tailoring. And of course, you have all the crazy shoes and even in more sizes that you would never really see. They had engineered garments, and those were like $100 each. I could have bought one, but I didn't think that I would wear it at the time. Whole bunch of great Hawaiian shirts, lots of United Arrows. Just basically like it was so different because in America, you have to hunt for this stuff, even if it is like a Wasteland or a Buffalo Exchange, which is a little bit more curated. They only take in certain brand name stuff. It's all good there. Like there is like, there's no Goodwill type of hunting or whatever. It's crazy.
Goodwill hunting?
Yeah, Goodwill hunting. R.I.P. Robin Williams. But but it's, I don't even know how else. I was so surprised seeing it, and it's like walking into like, if a Grailed or Rakuten or whatever had a physical store, like that was what it would be like. Just secondhand, great stuff. And if I can go off on a little bit tangent here, Japan has a lot of 3-roll-2 in general, and I'm assuming it's because of the whole Ivy style thing. But for me, that's great because it just means that everything is good. Like there is no 2-button J. Crew, where it has like a low button stance or like structured H&M shoulder kind of thing, like padding or whatever. Like everything is basically unlined, fairly soft 3-roll-2, moderate to high rise trousers. it's all good in Japan. It's crazy. Even if I can talk about Suit Company, which is a little bit lower on that blog post, but it's kind of like their men's warehouse. I mean, it is called the Suit Company,
Yeah.
but even though like some of the stuff was like polyester blend or the wool wasn't that great, it was still 3-rolled to soft shoulders, and I'm like, that's why I see so many salarymen that look good. You look here, you wait at the bus stop and you see guys wearing 2-button suits. Like, it doesn't look doesn't look very interesting. But in Japan, could be my bias just because I look for that kind of thing. But everyone pretty much looked good, and I think there's even more of an emphasis on corporate, style and culture, attire in Japan more so than America, where we see so many articles from like the Wall Street Journal saying men aren't wearing ties anymore or whatever.
Yeah.
Over there, it's still it's still there.
It's like when I would go back like to the courthouse or whatever for various reasons. When I was at the OC Weekly, I'd always see like lawyers who were wearing like very cheap plain suits, but then they would like in their minds to look good, they would have like either really loud socks or like fucking like Star Wars cufflinks or something like that.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
it seems like there's that over there.
Not that much. I mean, you can see some of the pictures. There's a lot of great. I mean, I don't know what it is. It's just great style. Maybe like I know I got some comments from my photography article. Not exactly critical, but they're like, oh, maybe you like the photography because the men in it are dressed the way you like them to be. And I'm like, that could be true, and maybe I could be seeing it. But even the casual style, like seeing like wide leg pants and they cuff them up with their chunky like New Balance sneakers, and they've all got tote bags and bucket hats and knit caps. It's like, it's so good.
Yeah.
And I'm even like all the salespeople are dressed really well. From even the Suit Company, like there's it's a picture of a guy wearing like a black polo with like a seersucker jacket or something, and like gray trousers and black horsebit loafers. Like it's so good, and you compare that again to like your typical mall employee in America, and it's just it's just
or
so
like,
different.
yeah, it's like I saw the photos, and going back to like Suit Company, it's like the guys all had cuff trousers, and if it's the Men's Warehouse of Japan, when I worked at Men's Warehouse, no one wore cuffed pants. Except me.
Yeah.
And they all told customers not to get cuffed pants. So,
Yeah, it's so
Big
weird.
difference.
Yeah. And if we go back to the secondhand stuff, I mean, maybe it's just because everyone's so good, so well dressed there. That's why secondhand stores are so good, because it's all that they have to resell, right?
Yep.
And then there is one called Komihyo, which when I was walking back from the Suit Company in Shinjuku, I passed by this like big store, and I thought it was like a Nordstrom or like a Barney's or like some department store, because it looked like it from the outside, but it said we sell Alden's, and like a big sign. So I'm like, okay, cool. Like if a Bloomingdale's would have a poster, like why not? So I go inside, and I look around. I go. The first floor was like jewelry, so it looked like like a typical department store. But I go to like the shoe section on the top floor. And I'm looking at the shoes. I'm like, oh yeah, they have a bunch. They got Edward Green. They got all this stuff here. And then I look at like the bottoms of the shoes, and I realize these are all secondhand shoes. And this one's a little bit better quality than the Second Street ones. And the prices are definitely more leaning on 400 than 300 or less or whatever. But there was so much. Like,
yeah.
I must have gone to one of the bigger Kamihos, but it was crazy. Like they had para boots there in like every size I could think of, Alden's in every size. And as a guy who has small feet, they're not narrow though, so a lot of shoes were still too small for me. But there were like, I was like, wow, I'm holding an Alden in my size, like or close to my size right now.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. And then that place also had its own suit section, which had even more selections, more United Aero stuff. They even had some like bespoke, like a section for bespoke stuff that people have like turned in. Like I think like some Dalcaore, some stuff there, and it was not all of it was in my size again, because there's a lot of size 34s in Japan, and 36, and I'm a 38, or I think by then I'm like a 40 if you when you look at it. But yeah, so much stuff, so much great. Like it wasn't just like navy blazers, because I know people think that salarymen kind of dress the same, but there was a lot of check
I'm
stuff.
looking at the photos. Yeah, there's a lot of bold patterns that you typically don't see in many stores in the States.
Yeah, and it's I tried on as much as I could. And again, if you guys, want to follow along on the blog, you guys should, because I think I put every picture I could in there. I know that every day in Japan, my stories look like fucking tiny dots just because of based on how many pictures I take. But I mean, yeah, like if you guys go there, I mean, Second Street and Kamihyo, and I'm sure that there's others that I did not get a chance to see. But checking those out, going to more than one location of that same secondhand store, it's like an absolute must.
Yeah.
And then so if we move on to vintage shopping now, I told a couple people when I was there, because I know that they were like super expecting me to like love it there. It's just been crazy in America lately where I've gotten lucky finding cool shit at such cheap prices that the beauty of like Koenji and other vintage stores has kind of lost on me a little bit.
Okay.
For those of you who don't know, I used to go to Roxy's Vintage Deluxe, which is a film costuming warehouse. Spencer knows, he's been there as well.
I have.
But she closed down like a month before I went to Japan, and so she sold everything at like ridiculously cheap prices, like $5, by the end of it, obviously. So seeing retail vintage prices again was kind of like, oh, okay.
Well, because also I think the vintage shopping in Japan is not necessarily the thing that you're into as much.
Well, no, it was. They
Okay.
People also said that too, but when you go there, they still have a bunch of sack jackets, they still have a bunch of, loop collar shirts, maybe a lot more Hawaiian shirts than I'm used to, but it's still fairly similar to like what you see at like Joyride.
Okay.
And yeah, so like the prices are about the same. It's not that much more if you do like if you convert it, the currency, I mean, not to power. Mr. Coffee?
Okay.
Oh no, Mr. Fusion. That's the right.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah, that's the one. But so I went to Koenji with my friend Kosuke, who works at Kamakura in Ibisu. So guys, go say hi to him if you can. And he's a vintage enthusiast, more so on the prep side. So he would thrift like 60s trousers and stuff, and that's what he tried on.
Yeah, I'm looking at his photo right now. It's dope. It's like patchwork Madras.
Yeah.
Sport coat and shorts.
Yeah. He's a cool guy, and he, unfortunately, that day I went there was also my dad's birthday, so I did not have a lot of time. But we literally outside of Konji Station, which is kind of far from where I stayed in Akasaka Mitsuke.
Okay.
But yeah, it's kind of it's like a 30-minute train ride. But like right outside the train station, you get to Whistler, which is like like you've probably seen pictures of this online if you look up vintage shopping in Japan. It's like a store that just has all leather, like just leather shoes, just up the yin yang.
Yep.
Just straight up like they display it proudly outside their door. They've got everything like inside, it's all vintage. And then in like another section, they have Alden's, Crockett & Jones. I don't even know how these people find those ones.
Yeah, Jesus, that's a lot of shoes.
Yeah, there's so much. And then they have like a bunch of collegiate sweaters. I'm sure my friend Doug would love that. I'm not sure exactly how old they are. I think I'm guessing about like 60s to 90s. Bunch of OCVDs. Unfortunately, not a lot of true vintage ones.
Really?
Like mainly like 80s or 90s ones. Still all cotton.
But they're not like super old.
Not like super old.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same thing goes for ties. I think that America still has a lot of like the more rare stuff, but anything else like Japan has it.
Yeah.
They have a lot of military stuff there. They had Gurkha shorts from like Australia and Germany. But of course all size like 26 waist, 28 waist, and I'm like, nope. Can't do that. But yeah, Whistler is super big, and then there's a bunch of other stores I took pictures of that you'll see in the blog post.
Yeah.
But I forgot their names just because like Kosuke knew I had to leave in like an hour and a half, so he's like, just keep going, dude. Like,
just push through.
Just push through. He's like, don't buy anything yet. We'll do it on the way back, but you gotta see, like, don't commit yet.
Yeah.
I think I went to Safari.
Desolation Row.
Well, I'll get to Desolation Row in a second, but I went to Safari. Okay. Like, the only ones I remember are Whistler and Safari. And Safari was where I bought the black sawtooth gabardine shirt. And that was cool.
Right.
That was a little bit more pricey. It was like $150, which is, a vintage Western wear can get kind of expensive on eBay. So, but like I liked it, and I know I wouldn't find it. I'm not a huge fan of Western stuff, and as Spencer said, this is probably like the Ethan Western shirt because it has no yoke and it's made
Which
of
makes it
gabardine.
boring.
Yeah, it has no yoke. It's not made of denim. So it's like a black shirt with just like a cool like
Pocket.
two
and
cool
and
chest
snap
pockets.
buttons.
Yeah, snap buttons. But I
Yeah.
love it, and it's
Yeah, it's
great
a good
condition.
shirt.
Yeah, and you'll probably see me wear it. I did wear it to the Wellama party, which you'll also see on the blog. But I mean, Spencer, I think you would have really loved. Like they have a lot of like work jackets, a lot of
Yeah.
like 80s, 90s, no, 70s, 80s, like safari, not safari. What do you call like hunting jackets? I saw a lot of
Okay.
those, and I feel like that'd be right up your alley. I didn't
That's cool.
take a picture of a lot of stuff just because I was like, we
You
gotta
were in a
go.
hurry.
Yeah, and then
I gotta go celebrate with my daddy.
yeah, exactly. I gotta eat steak.
Yep. Nice.
But there was a couple of, I saw a lot of sport shirts, lots of jeans. I went in Harajuku. That's another vintage place, vintage stores I went to. Those places are a bit more like 90s kind of stuff. But they still had some sections of vintage there. They were less lenient on me taking pictures.
Oh, really?
But there was one store that has like the biggest collection of Levi's like I've ever seen, and I wish I could have shared a picture with you guys. Like
They
just
don't
think,
allow pictures in there?
huh? No,
They
they
don't allow
no.
pictures?
Yeah.
No, they don't allow
Um,
bees in here.
No, I don't want these. Don't forget to go to sadjokesexplained.com. But just imagine like how they treat the shoes of like at Whistler, but Levi's.
Man.
Yeah, I don't know how
can't imagine
old. I don't know how old they were. Like if they were like like 40s or 50s Levi's, or just like LVC mixed in with some 90s ones, which are still pretty pricey when you're collecting. But yeah, there's one store that just had a bunch of those, and yeah. So if we go to we're talking about Desolation Row now, so that's when I went to Harajuku, or on the way to Harajuku, to go see Bryceland's. So I walked by Desolation Row, and they didn't let me take many pictures. Like after they noticed I was doing, they're like, "Hey, they told me to stop." But it's kind of like there's a workwear store. I don't think a lot of the stuff in the store was vintage.
Yeah.
It's a lot of repro. I don't follow a lot of workwear repro leather brands, so I didn't really recognize anything. But I would liken it to like General Quarters in La Brea. I don't even know if there's anything similar in LA. But we talked about inspiration on the podcast and in the blog, and it's got show notes and everything. It's definitely up that alley. And
Yeah, so I'm looking at the pictures now, and there's some really cool stuff that it looks like that like a leather kind of hunting sport coat.
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
turn of the century style.
yeah.
They got those cool HBT and chambray shorts with some of them look like they have a buckle back.
Yeah, and some of them also have like a reinforced crotch or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Good, because my balls are so big.
Yeah, you don't want to be Mr. Belvedere, right?
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to sit on my balls, so I need the I laugh every time I think about that story.
Okay, so Ethan thing, I wear briefs, so I will never have that issue.
You'll never Mr. Belvedere yourself.
Yeah.
There was a GIF from
on Reddit.
Yeah, or no, of the golf shit, whatever that's going on right now. And it's a guy who's crossing his legs, and when he does it, he crushes his ball and throws back his head in agony. And I watched it 100 times.
He's like, oh.
Yeah.
It's great. That's so good.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, the Desolation was like that. There's also a place called Time Worn Clothing, which stopped me from taking pictures immediately as I walked through the door. But they're
like,
also
we know
repro.
this guy.
Yeah. I kind of like Time Worn Clothing a little bit better because it was a bit more tailored. They had like a linen, like a 30s style work suit, side tab trousers, patch pocket jacket but no belt back, made of linen. I think the suit was like $800 or something like that. So it was like not bad. I didn't get to try it on because, again, I was going around this is a different day, but I was still going around like crazy. Just because, so I went to Disneyland for 2 days, so I knew those 2 days I wouldn't be doing anything. So,
Except having a great time.
Yeah, exactly, and it was fun. I'll probably finish off the blog post with some Disney stuff later, or I mean the podcast. I mean, but yeah, Time Warner Clothing was cool. They had a chambray shirt that I liked, but it was like $200, and the collar wasn't exactly what I wanted. And then a different day when I got out of the train station at Omotesando, and I had to take a shit, and I went to the station like twice during my trip there, or 3 times, and every time I went there, the fucking stalls were like closed, like not closed, like maybe taken, and there was a sign in Japanese in front of it, and I don't know if it maybe said these restrooms will be closed for the week, because I was like, it can't be taken every time I'm here.
Time. Unless it's like there's like a fucking Truman Show going on where they're like, okay, this season we're gonna make Ethan shit his pants. Like, that's gonna be the conflict.
The thing, I mean, okay, so the thing, I haven't really talked much about the people there, but the people there are normally like they're nothing but super nice and super helpful. And I would feel like if it was closed, someone would have told me, "Hey, man, those are closed." So maybe they just were taken every time. All 3 of them, all 3 stalls in that train stop restroom. Crazy.
Were you just like waiting outside?
Yeah, I waited for like 5 minutes. Like I didn't even hear flushing. It's like that's why I was like that and the sign. I'm like, is this really open?
Yeah.
Like, because I mean, there are people going to use like the stalls, the urinals or whatever, but never the actual stall.
And speaking of the people there, so how many people spoke English? How many people?
I would say like 60% of people could speak basic English, which is still, I mean, and they understood what I was trying to say, like, and I think it's just more so they didn't know how to respond in a they're not going to be like have some complex sentence, but they knew what I was going to do, and I could say thank you, or I could say excuse me, or where is this in Japanese, thanks to anime. And
and I assume the same goes for the shops, for most of the shops,
I think most of the shops, I think they're required to know more to know more English. I mean, just because lots of tourists go there and shop. Places like 2nd Street and Komihyo maybe didn't, because they're more like regular secondhand stops. But like when I would go to the outlet, which I need to tell you about in a second, but most of the luxury stores had people who spoke more English.
Okay.
And they also are testing out those new pocket translators where you can like speak into it and then it'll say it like out.
How like, Star Trek.
Yeah, basically it's like your what are they called? Communicators?
Sure, I'm not a Star Trek guy.
Oh, you're not a Starhead?
I'm not a Starhead. Now that's a Star Trek.
Yeah. Spocko. But yeah, so I had to take a shit, and I luckily on the way to Time Worn Clothing, there was a mall, so I went up the stairs and I passed by this place called Momotaro Denim, and I'm like, oh shit, okay, well I'm gonna shit and I'll be right back. And so I went back in there, and they had denim, like really good, like high rise, slim straight, skinny, whatever. And I must have vaguely seen them. I think there is one in LA, or there's one in San Francisco. And I texted, our friend Doug, and he's like, "Oh, I know about them. They're cool." And they had a chambray shirt, but it had a throat ledge and a spear point collar, and they had it in alpha sizing, so small, medium, large. So I made sure I went back there, and after seeing the one at Time Worn Clothing, I wasn't really keen on the collar, and I did not want to buy the one at Bryceland's just because it was a little too expensive. Yeah. I went back to Momotaro and I bought the chambray there.
And how much? About how much was that one?
About 120.
Oh, that's not bad
it was like 130 yen, and then of course if you have your passport, also bring your passport with you, because some shops have tax free if you spend a certain amount. I did that, and so I got it for like 120, like Yeah,
that's not bad.
Yeah, and it's a little bit of a thinner chambray. I'm sure you guys will see it more as on the blog or on my Instagram or whatever, but it's still pretty decent. I love the details on it. The collar is still a little bit big. If I wear a tie, it's less of a gap, but of course
because it's not like a true spear point necessarily, because it seems kind of wide, but it's certainly longer than
most. Even like the real McCoys, which I unfortunately did not get to go see. It was definitely longer than that one.
Yeah.
But I mean, in terms of the neck size, because it's small, medium, large, the medium was a little bit too big for my neck.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's a work shirt. I'll probably wear it without a tie, and maybe just with a tie. It doesn't really matter that much. That's why you guys go bespoke, aka Ascot Chang. But yeah, I went back and I took a picture of the guys there, and they were really nice. And unfortunately, the guys I met the first time where I had to poop were not there when I came back. But I did make some cool conversation with the guy who rang me up for the shirt, and he asked me about the NBA finals. And I just had to like nod my head and be like, "Oh yeah, it's cool, right? Golden State Warriors."
Yeah, I love the ball. Yeah, ball is life.
B-boy, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was Momotaro. That was near Harajuku. For going back that way, there was like a place called Lewis Leathers, which is cool.
Oh yeah. I follow them on Instagram. We've seen them a lot at like Inspiration.
Yeah, there we go. That's why they're familiar to me. I definitely took sneak shots of that one, because it didn't look like they were keen on pictures.
Yeah.
And I get it. You know, they're not vintage. Like they make their own leather, so maybe like they have their cool special ways of designs or whatever. Beams Plus was a really cool. I didn't get to go into any regular Beams, but Beams Plus.
So yeah, just tell us about like what Beams is like. What's the best comparison for like American department
I feel
stores
like
or whatever?
I would say like it's like Beams would be like H&M. Okay. Kind of like if H&M had like H&M Men, H&M Prep, H&M Streetwear, you know, stuff like that. So that's what Beams is. I could be so wrong. If my Japanese listeners want to correct us, please tell us. But that's what But I was told to go to Beams Plus because everyone said that's the good one. And one guy in the Street Express Facebook group, which you guys should join, he said that that's the Ivy, you know, the Ivy division or whatever, and it really is. When you go look into it, it's kind of maybe not strictly Ivy, but like vintage Ivy, Americana in general, because they have like loop collar shirts there. They got, you know, Gurkha shorts, I think, you know, or striped tees, and I got to meet one of the guys there. His name was Fuji. Super cool. I actually ran into him later on a different day when I was out with my family. And, you know, he was like, "Oh, like, hey, I'm Fuji. It's cool to meet you." And he started to, like, walk away. And I was like, "No, dude, let's talk." You know, like, I'm trying to meet new friends and everything. And, he told me he likes working there. And I asked him, like, what his favorite stuff was. And, you know, he showed me, like, loop collars. And they have, like the suit company, they have a bunch of sack jackets there. And being Beams Plus, they're a bit more vintage. You know, like, they have swelled seams. Swelled edges or whatever. The spacing on the 3 buttons is very 60s, you know, the patch flat pocket stuff. I ended up buying a t-shirt, which my brother says looks like the Goldbergs because it's like a multi-stripe vintage looking tee. Yeah. And it was like 9,000 yen, which is like less than $10. And I was like, holy shit. I mean, there was stuff there like $50 for like loop collars, but then the t-shirt, I always thought, oh, maybe it's 20. No, it was like 10. Christ, and they have like their own Alden collaborations there, which are in the pictures, and you can see that there's a bunch of Aldens.
That's nuts.
Yeah, and then I took a picture of him, and I thanked him and his coworkers. And on the way out, he was like, "Yeah, that's my boss," and I'm glad he was nice enough. And I'm like, "Oh yeah, very cool." And then maybe we should do Bryson's as its own podcast, because
this is gonna be a
multi-parter, just because I would love to talk more about...
Because otherwise this is going to be a fucking long-ass episode.
Yeah, so maybe we'll skip Bryceland's on this one. But after going to Beams Plus, we, I went to Bryceland's, and that was really cool. Yeah, we'll revisit it at some point.
Yeah.
So if we're going on the Ivy thing, I went to Kent Shop, and that was cool. Kent Shop is one of the places that stocks Van Jacket. And if you know Ambitora... That's the shit, man.
Seriously, it's fantastic.
Yeah,
it's great.
It's literally like, you know, it's like on the second floor of this building in Aoyama. And I remember, I think I wrote about this too, like the bottom floor is like a convenience store. And there was like someone on the phone, and the other person there's like just fucking asleep. And I go in and like take an elevator, which looks like it hasn't changed since like 1984. Yeah. And I go up, and then like I open the door, and it's like there's like a shrine. This is like Kent Shop, and by shrine I don't mean that in like a racist way. Like it's like there's like a candle, and then there's like a painting, I think, or a photograph. You know, it's kind of like a shrine to Ivy basically. And you know, like I walk in, it was empty, you know, just because I'm not sure who still goes to Kent Shop. But the shopkeeper was there. He's super nice. He spoke a little bit of English. I wish I asked for his name, but he was very helpful. Apparently, I'm a size large, and that's like the biggest they carry.
Okay.
And they, you know, like sack jackets there, like they were unchanged from like time. I mean, I know that.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like looking at that like tweed suit or that fucking bright red
Yeah,
like
that Harris tweed.
blazer,
Yeah,
those are incredible.
yeah, it was awesome. And like none of those, he's like, oh, those are not going to fit you. I'm like, I know. But they did have a couple of like their more modern, like their seersucker or their like jersey knit blazers.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, they have a lot of poly in both of those. Even like the cotton, anything with like cotton is like cotton poly.
Yeah.
But like he said, like the pure fabrics are all like Harris tweed, and I'm like, oh, okay. But I mean,
It looks like they got the buckleback chinos.
they do, yeah, they do. Those are 100% cotton.
Nice.
I didn't get to try them on just because I was so sweaty and I didn't want to make this old man, have to deal with me trying on multiple stuff and just fucking like ball sweat everywhere.
Okay.
But I was able to buy the T-shirt and the cap, which I am very excited about.
Yeah, I love that cap. Thinking back, I should have asked you to get me one.
You should have just done it, man. It's awesome.
Yeah, because it's like I looked it up. It's just a cap that just says for the young and the young at heart, Van jacket. And Ethan, how much was that?
It was like $60.
Yeah, it was like $60, and I was like, I don't want to spend that much on a cap. But then later I looked it up. I'm like, oh, you can't fucking get that here.
No,
Like,
you cannot.
That was my only chance. So
Yeah.
you win some, you lose some. That's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, it feels pretty good. I mean, I'm not super a dad cap kind of guy. I tend to wear bucket hats and knit caps way more.
I just wear hats every day because I'm bald, and otherwise I get sunburn. So I like to have a variety.
Yeah, I've got a good lock of hair on my head, so
One lock.
yeah, just one,
One
like a baby,
continuous- Yeah.
like baby Herman or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I took his picture and he packed it up and gave me the bag, the famous van bag. And he's like, "Oh, this
Mhm.
is a very famous bag. People love it." And I'm like, "I know."
I'm aware.
I almost was like, "Can you give me two so I can like pack one and use one?" But I just made
Mm.
sure when I packed it on my way back, I just using the way back, I preserved it as best I could, and it hangs proudly in
Yeah.
my room now.
Very cool.
Yeah,
what other shops do you visit? Because it seems like if we're not talking about like Bryceland's. Oh, Kamakura. We can talk
Kamakura,
about
yeah,
that.
Kamakura is great. I went there in Ginza, and there's a bunch of them over there. But I met Kotaro, who is like head of web sales, I guess, or web relations as well. Kind of ad hoc. Kamakura, like Ascot Chang, is a bit smaller. I think it's family owned. I'm not sure exactly, but he does what the company tells him to do, and he wanted to meet up with me because he works with a bloke, so he does all the orders. When the bloke needs a restock. I got to meet him. He told me to go to the Ginza one because it's the biggest. So if I wanted to buy something, it'd be best if I went there. It's kind of like a like not really a pop up, but it's not. It doesn't have like an enclave kind of store. It's kind of like like it's outside. It's not you know what I mean, like in a mall, like
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. I don't know if the listeners get it. But
Okay.
yeah.
We'll draw a picture and put it in the show notes.
There you go. But they had a whole bunch of stuff there, and it's been over a year since I've been to, almost a year since I've been to any Kamakura, and the one in Japan was just like next level. They have tailoring there, made in Italy. 2-button, which was surprising, but I guess maybe if everyone wears 3-button, people want something different, so you buy a 2-button. Soft shoulders and everything. They had fucking terry cloth polo shirts.
Jesus.
They had cool ties. They had like an overshirt made in linen, also made in Italy, I believe. And then they, I think last October or like last winter, they unveiled their vintage sport or Ivy sport shirt.
So it's called Sport Ivy or something is what the line is.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah. So it's an OCBD. It's got longer collars, and the thing is that it's unlined compared to their regular stuff, and then it's also different from their vintage Ivy because vintage Ivy. It was weird because it's supposed to be like the past or whatever, but they have shorter collars and they're not in neck sizes. They're in small, medium, large.
Yeah, so it's like none of my shirts. I don't tend to wear my shirts with like my vintage Ivy shirts with ties, and I'm not complaining because I have 3 of them and I love them all. But I tend to just wear them as like more casual OCBDs because like a lot of them, the neck is a little bit too big, or this new one, it's a little bit too small because they redid the sizes. But yeah.
Yeah. So I did buy one of those ones, the bold blue stripe one, just because I know that Drake's has done that a few times. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
all right, here we go. But I did get one of the Sport Ivy ones, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I bought a 15 3/4, even though I normally wear 15 1/2, because the body of the 15 1/2 was too small
Uh-huh.
for my taste. And because the neck is a little bit bigger, it doesn't roll as much because there's not a lot of tie space.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't spread out as you would hopefully want, but hopefully it after a couple of washes it'll shrink a little bit, or just I'll just deal with it. I mean, unbuttoned it looks great. There's a lot of roll there,
Yeah.
but with a tie it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's Kamakura.
And
Very
you got me the Paisley one from the vintage Ivy collection.
yes, yeah.
Which is, I love that thing. I've worn it like four times now.
Jesus. Yeah, like and there it's super cheap. I mean, I think at the Bloke or even just online.
Online,
one
it's
shirt's
about 130, and then you text me, it's like, oh, it's like.
It's
I
like
think the one I got was 70
oh
or
yeah,
80.
no, yours was like $85.
But that's just because it's from like Liberty Print,
Yeah,
London or whatever.
Yeah, the material, because for both my shirts, the Ivy Sport and the Vintage Ivy, those are both about 60 each. So I spent like $120,
Mm-hmm.
and that's insane.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I that was Kamakura, and then also in Ginza was Drake's and Ginza 6. Now it's interesting because, again, I'm so used to these stores having their own thing, not being in malls, but
Mhm.
Drake's is in a mall.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's also in another store. So
Okay.
there's a store called British Made. I'm sure it has some connection to like Mark Cho or something, and they stock British goods, and it makes sense because Drake's is British, and
Yeah.
it's in there. It's again it's still small, and British Made has a lot of like Joseph Chaney shoes and leather
Mhm.
goods and whatever, and then in the side like a fourth of the store is Drake's, and Takahiro or Naka as Instagram calls him. He is the one who works there. He works from like Monday through Friday. Then on the weekends, I mean, they're all trained to help out each other, but I think he's like the Drake's guy.
Uh-huh.
And I hadn't seen Drake stuff since the fall winter party. Oh no, they had a spring summer collection at the Bloke.
Yeah.
But of course they didn't have everything, and this Drake's has everything.
And this is the newest store, right?
I believe so. Yes, unless no, I think Korea opened up before they did. So
Yeah.
this is the newest one, and yeah, no, it's very cool. Still pricey.
Mhm.
But Takahiro is very, very knowledgeable, and he's very nice, very passionate, and excited to work for Drake's. I mean, it's cool to see other people outside of the United States or outside of London get excited about a brand and be able to work for them.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, and then also in that store they had Tsutaya, which is like a bookstore. It's a bit like if Kinokuniya is more like Barnes and Noble, this other one's more like Vroman's, I guess.
Okay.
And so they had a lot more, like they have like back like vintage books too, old or back issues of Popeye. So I bought some stuff there, and I got the illustrated book of Ivy,
Oh yeah,
which
that
has
one
the
I really
Hazumi
wanted.
illustrations.
Yeah, I
and
love that.
Yeah, that was great. I mean, it was a pretty pricey book, like $25, but still, like you're not gonna get that anywhere else.
No.
Yeah, I'm sure it would be like close to 40 or something if you bought it, like Kinokuniya.
Mhm.
In the States, I mean.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's Ginza. Right around near there is Sarto Ginza, which that one's not in the blog post because I'm giving that its own thing too. It's operated by this guy Moto, who is an ex-real estate agent, big Sarto enthusiast, and it's a really interesting store. So Sarto Ginza is primarily an alterations shop, and they do crazy ass shit. Like he showed me a jacket where they literally recut it. Like the left side is like a size 40 and the right side was a 38 or a 36. Like it was like crazy. And I asked him like, was this an expensive alteration? He's like, yeah, but the guy really wanted it, so he did it anyway. Like he also turned a pair of like the pants. Like the left side had a bigger rise than the right side.
Wow.
Obviously they made it smaller. Like that's where it was going. He did not, make something out of nothing. He didn't break the laws of thermodynamics. But yeah, and so he does that, and he's very well connected because he knows like Mark Cho. He stocks stuff from Drop 93, a very special curated collection. And if you guys don't know, Drop 93 is the Armory's secondhand shop, and so they have a bunch of stuff from there. And then they also do stuff with B and Taylor, and it's like, I guess it's the main place they go to whenever B and Taylor has a trunk show. They do made to measure there, and I tried on B and Taylor, and dude, it's awesome.
Nice, because that's the first time I assume you've been able to try it on.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Or see it in person.
Yeah, but all of it.
Yeah.
B and Taylor is one of my favorite. Taylors are from Korea. Master Park and his son kind of operate it, and then Chang is like the photographer. I'm sure he does more, but I mean, like, because you normally see either Master Park or Chad as like the main faces of B and Taylor, and yeah, the house cut is great, but they also had Chad's clothes there just on display.
Chad prom.
Well, no, they had that, but I'm saying like suits that were worn by Chad Park. Like he just let them display it. So, and it turns out I'm pretty close in size to him, at least in terms of chest. And man, that guy, his double-breasted suits are like, they're great. Like the shoulders are extended, like they look very 40s, but it's like softer and nicer, you know. And oh man, I was like, this is making me sold on Made to Measure right now. And Made to Measure through them, I think, is $2,500. And I'm not that weird of a fit for bespoke. So I would rather do Made to Measure. And I'm like, shit, man. Hell yeah. I didn't do it, but I was very close to doing that. I also got, I was like you said, I got to try on Chad Prom, the jeans, the famous jeans that everyone talks about. They're very interesting.
Our friend Andy, who's been on the show before, just got a pair of like Lee pleated jeans to try to replicate that look. Yeah,
because the thing is with Chad Prom, they're kind of like this like stone faded wash, kind of like 90s, 80s, but has a little bit of more interesting like rivets. It makes them look different than what you'd expect on like a sartorial jean.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're great. They're super comfy, 100% cotton. The pleated ones are not really my style, but they're cool. And you'll see that one in a future article, because I'm definitely giving that its own article, just so I can kind of dive deep on some of that information. Because if you guys haven't seen the recap of the trip, it's already long, and if I put in, we're talking about Bryceland some other time, but if I put in Bryceland's Taylorcade and all that, it would be insane.
Did we already talk about Tomorrowland?
No, we did not. Tomorrowland is basically what I assume Club Monaco is in Japan, and kind of like that bougie but not super luxury. Like it's still like, it looks Club
bougie,
Monaco,
but it's affordable.
Yeah, to an extent. I mean, like the jackets were still like $400, but it's not like you're going to ring jacket where things like $1,000 or something like that. So, but again, same thing there. Like 3-roll 2 everything, soft shoulders. I'm pretty sure I'm a size 40 in Japanese because of how small the 38 is. But they also retail some other stuff. I found like Dries Van Noten, like a cotton DB from them. First time I think I've ever seen Dries like in person and not just like on MFA. So some stuff is kind of weird. Some stuff is pretty, classic. One of the guys there was dressed really, really well. He's wearing. Do you have
any photos of him?
Yeah, he should be in the style recap. He's wearing like a loop collar shirt with a green olive blazer, and then like wide leg rust chinos cuffed with like sandals. And I'm like, this is some straight Tony Sylvester vibes right now.
It's nice.
And I was super into it. I made sure to tell him that I wanted to take his picture and include him. And but they also had a cool pink jungle jacket suit, which I was like,
I saw that, and I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah, I don't think it was made by Tomorrowland. It's one of their brands that they carry, but I did see a similar one in the outlet. Now, if we move on to that, so I didn't do a lot of, sorry, excuse me. I guess my lunch is coming to say hi.
Okay.
But if you look at, I didn't do a lot of like tours, like those day tours, like a tour bus or whatever. But I only did one, which was to Mount Fuji, which included, stops at the lake, a stop at a bathhouse, which was really interesting. But
nice.
I'm a man. I can go naked around other men and wash myself. Hell yeah, dude. Gotta be clean. It was also very hot. The water is very hot, and outside was hot. And I was like, I'm gonna do the indoor pools, not the outside one, because otherwise I would be fucking cooked like a turkey. It ain't even Thanksgiving. It's a weird phrase.
That's okay though.
Yeah. But the end of that tour was at the Gotemba luxury outlet, or premium outlets, and I'm like, this is a weird tour. I guess they must be contracted with like, with like the Commerce Board to be like, okay, we're gonna take them through Mount Fuji, and then we're gonna end for them shopping.
Exit through the gift shop.
Yeah, exactly. And at first I was like, oh man, I hate outlet malls because I've been to like Prim or Ontario where it's like, because you guys should know by now if you're into menswear, like a lot of outlet stuff is just made for outlets.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like factory overstock or whatever. It's just it's a marketing tool to make you think that you're saving when you're actually buying
just shitty stuff.
Shitty stuff. I'm not sure if that's exactly the same thing in Japan, because they had like the Nike outlet there or whatever, but they had United Arrows outlet, they had Beams outlet, and they had a Tomorrowland outlet. The Tomorrowland outlet was pretty much basically like what I saw, maybe like a couple seasons older, but it was pretty close. Nothing super cool, obviously, because it is the outlet, but it was still pretty nice to look at. There's like a couple of like cotton linen jackets there, a little too bold for my taste. But the best one was United Arrows, and that place, like United Arrows has a lot of collaborations. They had like a Carhartt collab for like Aloha shirts, and at first I was like kind of disappointed because I know United Arrows has some great tailoring.
Yeah.
They have a small section in the back that has their suits. Well, they have a big part for suits, but they have a small section for like their really good ones. And that is where I was like, oh fuck. That stuff was like their Sovereign line, which is like their highest grade, like probably half canvas stuff, like wide lapels, 3-rolled 2, like roped, extended shoulders. And they had, the way it's good is when they have like those basis stitches along the shoulder, along, like kind of just like everywhere on like a jacket, kind of like what you would see maybe at like a Bloomingdale's or whatever. It wasn't just like shit on a rack. And they had like a Solaro DB suit with side tab pants. They had a seersucker suit, whipcord suit, pinstripe 3-piece, a bunch of like navy blue blazers, which were like cotton wool or wool linen, something like that. And it was awesome. Obviously, I asked the guy there, like, is this all you have? Like, is there any exercises in the back? And he's like, no, everything is already out. So unfortunately, the Solaro suit was a little bit too big. You can see that in the pictures. Yeah. But I walked out with a Sovereign label wool mohair sport coat in a size 50. It's like it's a houndstooth check jacket, which is like a very light gray and blue. So it looks kind of like a bluish steel gray if you look at it from afar, but it's still gray, and it's amazing. And it was like $300, and I'm like, I don't care. Like that's worth it.
Yeah, that's a great price.
Yeah. The cut is a little bit different than Ring Jacket, obviously, because it's a little bit more structured, a bit more, Italian, kind of like nipped waist with like an extended shoulder line kind of thing. But yeah, that was cool. And then I went to the Beams outlet, which this is before I went to Beams Plus. So it was a little bit, I wasn't sure what I was expecting. A lot of the stuff there was poly blend, so I'm not sure. Again, even at Beams Plus, I didn't get to try on any of the tailoring, so I don't know if it's the same story there. But it looked cool. It just was like, poly blend. There's a belted chore blazer, which was cool, but 100% polyester. And then there's that famous like loose knit or open weave DB blazer that you see a lot on Japanese guys. And that particular one was cotton poly. I don't know if they have like a separate one where it's not, like, the regular Beams or what, and everything there was about like $100. So I don't know what I was expecting, but I'd rather spend money on like a pure fabric. But yeah, that was a fun surprise for the premium outlets.
Yeah, and I think the last two places we haven't really talked about are maybe Ralph Lauren and Ring Jacket.
Yeah, we'll finish with Ring Jacket. Ralph Lauren is basically, I mean, I would think I went to the flagship store, and because it's flagship, they had everything. They had Purple Label, Polo, and Double RL, and I don't know what I was expecting. Like, they're styled pretty much like I thought they would be. Yeah, they're just more tailoring, because I think the one in there's a Double RL in LA. It's on Melrose, and that one's it's cool. It's in a garage. It's like a repurposed place, but there's a lot more casual stuff there. While at this one, there was a lot of tailoring. I could see a lot more. Like the work
Just the
suit,
double RL tailoring.
the double RL tailoring. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, it looks a lot more like the New York store.
Yeah, which we did not get to go to.
No, we did.
Oh wait, yes. I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah,
thinking
we
of the
went.
Ralph Lauren mansion.
Yeah, not
Yeah.
the Ralph Lauren.
Yeah,
mansion.
it definitely
We went
was
to the
more
double
like
RL.
the Ralph Lauren store in Soho. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't get to talk to many people there. Also, I think that was one of my first stores I went to on my trip, so I was a little bit nervous. Also,
Mhm.
language barrier. There wasn't a lot of like, hey, what's up, man? Like just very,
Yeah.
doing your job, which makes sense. It's a luxury store.
Mhm.
But yeah, that one was
I
very
love one
cool.
one item that I really love is the Madras drawstring. Were those shorts or pants?
I think they were shorts.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a good. I like that. Because I just got some like just drawstring shorts from work, that are just like kind of my sleep / doing nothing that day shorts, and I kind of want more like that. So that's very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really get a chance to look through too much, but that was kind of, it
Yeah.
was cool to see. I just haven't been. I've been in Ralph Lauren in a while.
Mhm.
I went to Taylor Cade, and I'm not sure if I want to
Oh,
do this
yeah,
one
I forgot about that.
as its own thing. Taylor Cade was an amazing experience.
Yeah.
He made time to come see me because when I went there, no one came in. So maybe he just decided to come in on a day that he knew he was free or his off day or something.
Mhm.
I got to meet him and his wife Junko, and she was kind of like a translator between us because I think Yamamoto-san doesn't have a lot of conversational English.
Yeah.
But anyway, we were able to understand each other fine. It's fun because he said that he played a saxophone, and I'm like, I play saxophone too. But the difference
Couple
is,
of saxophoners over here.
yeah. But the difference is that he still plays in a jazz band in Tokyo, and I do not own a saxophone anymore. But man, like that was awesome. Like you think about like the experience going to Kent, like this is just way, way better. I mean, he wears, his appeal is that he saw all these cool jackets and suits, vintage or whatever, but you're limited by what's in your size, what the condition
Mhm.
is, what has survived. And he's like, you know what if I could just do bespoke and make it myself? So he does. And he wore a two-piece linen sack suit, but the pants were self-belted. And you can't find that. I mean, I'm sure there were self-belt pants back then, but like to find a linen one cream in great condition, no, you're not gonna find that.
Yeah, that's almost impossible.
So like and that's the whole thing, like, oh, you want like a Newport blazer, which is what apparently the Japanese call the 60s blazer, the DV
Mhm.
blazer. You want that? I've still never seen a vintage one, like a 60s, like 4-button brass blazer. Never
Yeah.
seen one of those, and he makes those. If you want the bullet tweed jacket and you want some elbow patches on it, you got to go bespoke. I've never seen the brown in that shade. That's made just
Mhm.
like it, and his whole store is just filled with, just memorabilia, not necessarily vintage, but like stuff that he likes. So there's a bunch of like 80s Esquire magazines there, and some of them have Woody Allen on it wearing like a sack suit, and and
Yeah.
it's just kind of a cool thing to have. He's got like an action figure of Bullet
Oh, that's cool.
in there. The car, just a bunch of cool stuff. And the thing I noticed is that he likes the 60s, but he can do anything.
Mhm.
Like the first thing he let me try on was a 30s style jacket, suit. I mean, I didn't get to try on the pants, but like the jacket, 3-roll 2, wide peak lapels, rope shoulders, short in the body because that's what they did in the 30s, double-breasted waistcoat, and then like 10-inch hem trousers.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's cool to see because everyone just thinks of Taylor Cade as like the Ivy guy, but he can do whatever he wants.
That bitch does everything.
Yeah. And it's just what else did I try on? I tried on like a camel hair sport coat, 60 stuff, and he was like so happy that I was trying everything on. Like he would just pull out things that were like almost nearing completion or were just finished, and like my size. He's like, oh yeah, put this on. It's
Like the website.
Yeah, it was really fun. I asked him a lot of questions. He said that he likes wearing He likes wearing flannels and tweeds a lot, which makes sense because like they're hard wearing. We both agreed on that. And he says like he'll refuse to make anything that's like from like a super fine wool or whatever. Because he's like, not just because it's not his preference, but he says like those don't really fit the aesthetic well. I'm like, that's true. I can't imagine having a sack suit that's made of like super fine wool. It just doesn't work in my mind.
Because it looks like the day you met him, he was wearing like a cream suit. It was linen.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and his shoes were all done.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
King.
And it's funny because a lot of people use his store as like a hub to hang out, kind of like how we use the Bloke.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I couldn't meet some of the other vintage guys, and there's like J.P. Melville, 1947. Takahiro Abe, the barber guy.
Mm-hmm.
Kosuke, all like a bunch of guys out there that all hang out in No Tailor-Cade or Yamamoto-san. And but yeah, I'm super glad he allowed me to come, and I was glad he made the time to do it. And no one walked in, and it was just us. I asked him for lots of water because even though it's like a 10-minute walk from the station, and a 10-minute walk is like a mile, so I was dying. The whole trip, I was just dying. Like, I mean, my feet thankfully weren't bad.
Yeah.
But I don't know whether it was the humidity or the sweat that was on my body. I don't know. It was bad.
Mm-hmm. How are your feet this time around? Because I remember in New
perfect.
York.
No, they're fine. I was smart.
Beautiful.
I know now that I'm wearing Vans and my very soft and broken in penny loafers. I'm not wearing.
Yeah, because I mean, you talked about this a little bit in the article where you weren't dressed up as much. Do you think if we went on another menswear trip, would we be wearing tailoring every day, or do you think we'd be, you know what, I'm traveling, I want to be comfortable?
I would be more so like what I was doing in Japan.
Yeah.
I think I walked a little bit. Actually, I don't know. It's probably about the same as New York. It's just that New York, the first day killed me, and then you still have to walk. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was a great experience. And then Ring Jacket was great. Another kind of more luxury experience where I don't know the guys who work there, so it was less conversation and more so just getting my size. And it's cool. The environment's kind of like a Suit Supply, very clean looking. Like by Suit Supply, I mean that. I don't mean it as in there were pictures of women naked or whatever.
Yeah.
They tried to sell me on the 38, but I was like, the 38 is it's too tight, too small. I don't want it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna do the size 40, and it's great. Pro tip: buy balloon or buy whatever Ring Jacket in Japan. It is way too expensive to buy it anywhere else.
Is it just because of tariffs or whatever? And
I have no idea, but
because the prices you said, how much did you get yours for?
So it's 700 yen, and then so without tax, because you have your passport with you, it was like 650.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, because you buy it here in America or buy it at the Armory, it's like 1,400. It's $1,400, $1,300. Yeah, I mean, the Armory one makes a little bit more sense because they make like exclusive fits or whatever. But like regular, it's crazy. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because Ring Jacket's not popular here or whatever. It's like kind of a repositioning as a luxury brand, which it is still. Yeah. But yeah, it was.
And I remember right before you left, you almost we were at the Ring Jacket trunk show at Drake's, at the Bloke, and you almost bought something there, but thank God you didn't.
Yeah. I mean, I really like their tobacco linen suit, but in the end, I got my balloon dark brown sport coat, which I really wanted, and then I also received my brown cotton suit from Atelier Fugue, and that kind of that buys me over for like the fucking rest of the fucking year, dude.
Yeah,
I'm done.
You got it.
Yeah, Ring Jacket will get its own blog post at some point in the future because I'm gonna talk about balloon, but yeah, that's kind of the experience of that.
All right. Did we mention all the stores? Do we want to get in? I think we did. Do we want to get into just like kind of a little bit? This is gonna be a long one talking about just all the style of the people, or do you think we covered that?
I think we. I mean, like you said, like lots of 3-year-old too, lots of Ivy inspired stuff, Americana. I mean, basically what you see me and it's a little bit less bold than me and Spencer. Like they're not wearing like camo jungle jackets and bucket hats on the daily, but like a lot of like linen chore coats, soft blazers with a bucket hat or a baseball cap, pleated
Yeah.
shorts, white socks and loafers, very like, like that's like their standard there.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can, if I want to bring it back to Disneyland, like I said I would, going to Disneyland there was really cool, not just because Disney Sea is technologically advanced and they keep it super clean, and they have great food that's cheap there. It's like fuck you Anaheim Disneyland for being so expensive, but the people in Japan going to Disneyland, they dress up for it.
Yeah.
Like they wear like stuff you'd hang out with your friends and like here, like if you're in the streetwear, you'd wear streetwear at Disneyland. There is no of this. There's none of the oh, I gotta wear my athletic shorts and comfy sneakers or wear yoga pants and a tank top. Like they
want to look good.
Up. They want to look good. Like there was a couple that's wearing like a black minimalistic outfit, like loose and drapey, and then they're wearing like Mickey ears with it, and I'm like, this is so cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
I almost bought Gelatoni ears, and for people who don't know, Gelatoni is Duffy's friend, and if you don't know who Duffy is this bear it's supposed to be Mickey Mouse's teddy bear who has come to life or whatever. And in Japan, Duffy's gotten super popular that they even have you can meet Duffy at California Adventure, and the line is always Japanese people.
Nice.
But there's a whole like canon with him in it, and there's like Shelly May, which is like Duffy's girlfriend or whatever, and then there's Gelatoni, who is an Italian cat.
Okay.
And he's got a beret and like a artist palette, and I almost bought the ears because it has cat ears and a beret on it.
Oh man, you absolutely should.
And it's so cute, and I'm like, oh, I know I'm not gonna wear it. It's kind of dumb, but I'm like, man, I could have flexed on people in Disneyland wearing that thing, and only the true Disney heads would know what I'm wearing.
Yeah, even I didn't fucking know about that.
Yeah, it's cute. I mean, you can find them on eBay for like $40, and I'm like, I'm still considering it because I'm like, I still want it, and $40 isn't bad for ears. I think in the grand scheme of things, because of how
you're probably paying like fucking 20 for them at the park. So.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what it is. So it's you're kind of just, it's less than a trip to Disneyland. But yeah, dude, it's so great. I really recommend Disney Sea. I mean, like the rides there are like next level.
Yeah,
it's so cool. Journey to the Center of the Earth is really great. In
fact,
I
was watching after you told us about it. I went on and like watched a bunch of like theme park YouTubers, like making videos of them. And it's the same thing with a lot of the newer parks where they just opened later, and so they could just made the rides cooler. Like,
yeah,
it wasn't like 1955 where it's like, I still love all the old dark rides at Disneyland, but it's just like riding on a little track and there's cardboard cutouts. They were like, no, we have technology. We're gonna make it cool as fuck.
Yeah. Seriously, like Journey to the Center of the Earth. Did you watch that one?
I did. That was the submarine one.
No. That's the drilling one.
Okay, yeah, I did watch that one though. Those are both incredible.
Yeah, it's so worth it. I mean, and just my biggest thought, like walking in there and you see like they have like the Lake of the World or whatever, or like it's like Venice or something, and you see like Mount Prometheus in the background, the volcano or whatever, and it's like, if this is what Star Wars Land is gonna be like, which I've heard it is, I'm so excited. Like I can't wait. You're like literally immersed in this world that Disney has created, and it's amazing. There is no like Tokyo Disneyland is kind of like just regular Disney, but Disney Sea is like you are walking into like Adventureland, and the whole thing is different stuff. There's also Cape Cod for some reason.
Yeah, but like going back to the fucking Ivy thing, they love
it. Yeah, they have like signs. They have like one part where like this sign is dedicated to the boys of Cape Cod who died at D-Day or something like that. And I'm like, I wonder if they like scanned a street and that particular street in Cape Cod had that sign, so they just put it in there. Because it's kind of like, how would they think to put that, put it there? But it's amazing. Like the amount of detail, and that applies to everything about Japan. Like, like they always like they improve everything. Like every experience is great. Everyone's smiling. Maybe they're just planning on the how the Olympics is next year, so they have to be on their best behavior until foreigners or whatever. But I never had a bad experience. I know Japan kind of gets a bad rap for a lot of gender role stuff and just you guys can look up for yourself on on the news or whatever. But at least in terms of my experience, it was really amazing, and I felt really welcomed around everywhere. People were always happy to help me out. I mean, I've needed help on the subway in New York, and people were kind of dicks, and over there, like they helped me out. So
Yeah.
It's really great, and if you guys really want to read more, you guys can read my whole thing, my whole essay on it, and the street style of all the people there. I mean, me talking about my experience with each individual person could also be its own podcast episode, but you guys can read all about it there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Extra.
Yep. So, yeah. I think that'll do it for this episode, and this one's pretty long already, and hopefully you guys enjoyed.
all our podcasts are long.
That's true. That's true.
But you know what? I don't know about you. I like long podcasts.
Me too. I mean, I'm in the car for like fucking 3 hours out of my day or something. So
yeah, exactly.
Why not? And I think we checked the last time, and people stopped listening about an hour in. So
so fuck you.
Yeah.
You won't even hear this part.
No.
I can say whatever I want.
Yeah, take that, you cucks.
Yeah, I'm gonna say my social security number.
1, 2, 3, 4.
That's it. It's 4 digits. I was the first one.
But yeah, go guys, check out the blog post or the show notes to find the the whole article about the stuff. Again, there's gonna be more added onto it for like Bryceland's and picture stuff for Ring Jacket and Taylor Cade. It just really was a really great experience, and I can't wait to someday go back.
I want to go now.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully we all get to go.
Yep.
You can find me on Instagram at Ethan M. Wong.
I'm at Spencer DSO.
And we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.